I do not want transgender children. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. So actually, when you see this, it'll be Easter. So happy Easter to anybody that does celebrate. Today, as you can tell from the title, I wanted to talk about children and transitioning. It's obviously such a heated debate, and as a father, I wanted to give my point of view of how I feel. And it may be controversial, but we'll see how it goes. But before I hop into it, my name's Kyle, aka Prince Kyle, don't forget it, and I have an Instagram as well as a TikTok where I share my female to male transition, as well as give tips to anybody that would like to hear about it. So without further ado, this may sound more harsh than it's meant to, especially because I do have a lot of young people that follow me, but I do not want transgender children. I want children who are going to be allies to the transgender community. Now, again, it sounds a lot more harsh than what it means, so please stick around all the way till the end to hear exactly why I'm saying what I'm saying. Now, there is a huge controversy around children and transitioning. I know you all are hearing about it, especially in the United States. It's very big, and it's very scary what laws are being passed right now. But the reason I'm saying I don't want transgender children is from a parent standpoint. I don't want transgender children just because I don't want them to have to go through everything I went through and everything that I see a lot of children going through now who identify as transgender. That is like the main reason why I do not want transgender children. Now, I do want children who are going to be allies towards the transgender community, meaning children that are going to respect the trans community, not see them as anything different than themselves, see them as another normal part of society, and pretty much I want children that are just not going to be douchebags. Super simple. A lot of people think that just because us trans adults transitioned, that when we have kids, they think that we're gonna coerce our children to also be transgender and form like some crazy cult of transgender people. Like, I don't even understand how that would be realistic, but that is what I get from people and how they think transgender adults go through life. And I'm here to say, as a transgender man, adult, father, that is not the case, and at least it's not the case for me. I am not going to coerce my children to be transgender. Again, I don't want my children to be transgender. In a perfect world, I would love them to just identify with what they were biologically given at birth, but obviously we don't live in a perfect world, and it is what it is. And I'm not saying that in a way that trans people aren't perfect the way we are, because we are perfect. We are just as perfect, but in a perfect world and what the majority deem normal, obviously I would want my child to fit that role, because then it comes with a lot less hardships on them in the future. So obviously you guys do know I am a father right now, so I'm mostly speaking for any children that I have in the future, because I do want one that I have raised from the ground up. A lot of you guys know I do have a stepson, and he's only been in my life for about 2 years, but it is very obvious to see that he was biologically born a man, and he, as of right now, shows signs that he's probably going to stay that way, and we love that for him. We are not trying to coerce or change anything about him. We love the fact that he aligns with the gender that he was given at birth, and it makes life a lot easier for him, and it is a privilege that he has. And with that, we are only trying to raise him to be an ally towards the community, because at the end of the day, like I said, we don't want to raise anyone who is going to be hateful towards different communities of people. So although I don't want trans children, I 110% want ally children. Another thing that people think is that me as a child, I was coerced into being transgender, and that is so far from the truth. I was raised 110% as a female. Now, I was extremely tomboyish. There was nothing my family could do to change that, but I was forced to wear girl clothes all the time. I was forced to play girl roles in life. Like, I was forced, and I don't mean forced in like a abusive way, but I was forced in a, well, it is what it is. You were born a woman and you were born a girl, so you have to act in this way. You have to dress this way for these events. Like, this is just the way it is. There's no changing it. I was raised under that impression, especially because we're talking 20 years ago when life was a lot different. So my mom was not against me being different, but she also didn't want to raise me in a way that made her look like she was not taking care of me the way she needed to. Because back then, 20 years ago, if a parent was to allow their child to just identify as a different gender and like express themselves fully in school, it would not go over well, and it would potentially make her look bad and like a bad parent. So I was forced to conform to the gender I was given at birth. So a lot of people think that I was raised to live how I wanted to and make my own decisions when it came to my gender, and that was not the case. My mom did everything she possibly could to keep me on this straight and narrow path as a girl to grow up and live as a woman who eventually would have children and do all of the typical normal female things that women go on to do into adult life. But that wasn't the case. I still took the different route when I became an adult to live as a man, because I knew that that's how I aligned. There was nothing anyone could do or change or coerce me into thinking differently. It just is what it is, and it's just another point to show you that trans and being trans is not a choice. Being trans is not coerced by parents. At least it was not for me in my upbringing. Honestly, being trans was not even a thought in my mind until about 11th grade. I didn't even know what being trans was. And I see all over social media, and because I am an advocate for the trans community on social media, so many people tell me that I'm brainwashing children because now children are watching my channel and learning more about being trans. And that is the farthest from the truth. I'm not trying to coerce or force children to make these huge drastic decisions in life. I am just here to tell people who already believe in themselves to be transgender that it is okay if you feel this way, because there are many of us out here. I'm not trying to tell children, hey, although you identify as a woman and you are biologically a woman and you don't want to ever change that, I'm here to tell you that you should be a man today. Like, no, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to be a activist or advocate for cisgender people who are okay with being cisgender. We are just trying to show them that there are just as many people in the world that feel the exact same way they do, and so they don't feel alone. It is no different than people who have anxiety and are looking for other people who have anxiety on the internet to kind of come together and share their experiences with one another. It is just a place for us to find each other in a huge world where we feel like we are alone. That's it. So for me, I was able to decide as an adult, and I would probably want the same for my child. I would want my child to make the decision when they are an adult. So if my girlfriend does end up having another child and I am around to raise them for their entire life, and same for Hunter at this point, I am okay with them expressing their feelings and emotions to how they identify, but I am not going to force anything on my children. I am not going to tell them what decision is right and what decision is wrong. I am just simply going to allow them to exist. If my child is born and the doctor tells me that I am having a boy, then they are going to be a boy until they can tell me otherwise. If the doctor tells me that I'm going to have a daughter, then I'm going to raise them as a daughter until I am told otherwise. I am going to say that I don't necessarily agree with raising my child gender neutral, just because, and this is a touchy subject and I don't want it to sound hypocritical, so I'm trying to be very careful with my words, but I also don't want to raise my child as gender neutral, because I want my child to be raised in their biological state until they have the mental capacity to be able to tell me, I don't align with this. I don't align with what I was born. Something is different about me and I want to align in this way. Until they can do that, I am going to dress them and treat them as the gender that the doctor tells me at birth. I feel like it's fair, and I feel like it is rational, and it is very controversial right now, where a lot of people think that all of us transgender men and women are going to just instantly raise our children to be trans just because we are. And that's not the case at all. I don't like viewing the trans community as like a cult or someone who's trying to force everyone to become that. That's not how trans works. Trans is a genuine identity, and it is a genuine feeling within the brain. It is not something you can just pluck people like, come join. Like, I'm not handing out flyers like, be trans today, be non-binary today. Like, no, it doesn't work that way. And I feel like that is what the internet is starting to portray trans as being. Again, I will be parenting in a different way than how I was raised. I will not be parenting in a way where when my child says, hey, I feel this way, I'm not going to tell them, well, no, you're this, so it just has to be what it is. No, I am going to allow my kid to speak. I'm going to allow my kid to express how they want to express as they get older and self-identify, but I am not going to let them physically transition. I do not want them to make any huge decisions that may not be reversible or may be very hard to reverse when they are an adult, because as a child, it is in fact a fact that children can't really make decisions for themselves, and that is why there are so many laws with age restrictions on drinking alcohol, smoking, like all of these things. There's a reason why there are age limits on things in life, because children's brains are still growing, and until honestly 25 years old, your brain is not fully developed. And again, I don't want this to come off the wrong way, especially because a lot of my audience are under the age of 25, but it is the reality of it. And I didn't transition until I didn't physically transition like with hormones and surgeries until after 20 years old. And I'm not here to play parent for anyone, but I'm just speaking on how I would parent and how I am parenting my child and my future, hopefully my future child. I'm just telling you how I would approach it. So I don't want anyone to think that I'm trying to tell you what to do. If you are 15, 16 and you don't like what I'm saying, that's 100% okay. I'm just saying what I think is best for my child. So I want to end this on, there is nothing wrong with your child being trans, but I would prefer my child not be, just for the sake of their safety and their well-being in life, because this is not an easy road to take, which is another way to express how this is not a choice. I would not choose this way of life if I had the choice to, but I will 110% educate my child on what it means to be transgender and how there are many trans people that walk this earth and they are just as valid as them. So again, I don't want trans children, but I do want my child to be a transgender ally, and I will teach them and educate them as such when I see the time to be right. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, I don't want this to come off wrong at all. There is nothing wrong with being transgender, obviously, but just for the sake of being a parent, nobody wants to see their kid struggle or suffer, and unfortunately, that's what happens. And if I could have the choice, I wouldn't choose my child to be trans. Like, no, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to raise a respectful kid who sees everybody as human and sees everybody as equal. And just because I'm transgender does not mean my child is gonna be transgender. So, alright guys, I'll see you guys in the next one. If you have not already, please subscribe, like, comment, you know, all that good stuff. Keep the ball rolling. Let's get to 50K. And until next time, peace guys.